Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yesterday, we spoke about God's power of creation. If you remember, we said it says, وَلَيْسَ كَصُنْعِهِ صُنْعُ صَانِعًا. God's creation is very interesting, very beautiful. All creation belongs to Him. And then we said, but from His power of creation, God gave a share to humanity. And today you will see how important this has made humanity. Insan, human being, you and I, very important. And today we will see. So anyway, in the story, God said that, okay, all creation belongs to me, but I'm going to give some of it to you, O insan. And of course, because your power is limited, so you're going to be facing challenges. You're going to be needing help. And God said, okay, whenever you need help, I'm there. Sami'un lid-da'wat, dafi'un lil-kurubat. I will make sure that a lot of problems don't come to your way. And those who come your way, I will be there. Right? Rahimun lil-dhari'in. Something like that. So God said, I will be there with you. And all of this special attention given to humanity, of course, made us feel very good. And then the next phrase expresses the natural emotion we have after listening to all of this. Allahumma inni arghabu ilayk. Oh wow, God, you did all of this for me? You gave a power of creation to me too, and I can, in this universe apart from you, create as well? I can't wait. And in addition to that, you showed all of this love to me, this support. Allahumma inni arghabu ilayk. It's very interesting. And I have a lot of desire for you, right? So Imam Hussein at this point is expressing his love for God. But then immediately Imam continues and says, وَأَشْهَدُ بِالرُّبُوبِيَّةِ لَكْ مُقِرًّا بِأَنَّكَ رَبِّي وَأَنَّ إِلَيْكَ مَرَدِّي. Now this part is very interesting. Please pay attention. Imam says, I love you. That's on one side. But I also want to say, God, I've seen how you took care of me, right? So from this passage onwards, we learn not about our love for God, but God's love for us. It's a very beautiful story. The interesting way Imam Hussein tells the story is that he already says the end of the story. وَأَنَّ إِلَيْكَ مَرَدِّي. The end of my story is that I'm going to be with you. That is the end of every single human being. Our ending place is going to be with God. وَأَنَّ إِلَيْكَ مَرَدِّي. I'm going to be there. But now Imam Hussein says, okay, having said the end of my story, I'm going to go to the beginning and start narrating my story. And through this, we will see how God loved us before we were even born. It's very beautiful. Imam Hussein's line. ابتدأتني بنعمتك قبل أن أكون شيئا مذكورا. I still did not have a name. No one was even mentioning me that you started loving me. When is this? Is this before we were born, like at the time of our fathers or grandfathers? You'll see, no, this love started way earlier. It's very beautiful. Stay with me. أسكنتني الأصلاب آمنا لريب المنون واختلاف الدهور والسنين فلم أزل ضاعنا من صلب إلى رحم في تقادم من الأيام الماضية والقرون الخالية ولم تخرجني لرأفتك بي ولطفك لي وإحسانك إلي. It's very beautiful. It says throughout history, from the very early times, from the very first human beings, you carried me within my ancestors in their wombs and their loins from one generation to another generation. All this time you carried me. There were many opportunities for me to be born, but you said no. I have a special plan for you. It says what? لم تخرجني لرأفتك بي ولطفك لي وإحسانك علي. And all this time that I could have been born, but you said no, the time for you is not yet. I have a special plan for you. You kept me from the uncertainties of time, from all the ups and downs. There were so many cruel rulers. There were many brutal times. The humanity was in dark ages, ages of ignorance, and you didn't bring me out in the world. No, because you loved me. لِرَأْفَتِكَ بِي وَلُطْفِكَ لِي, because of your love for me. And this is very interesting because it shows that our birth is not an accident. The time of our birth, no, this is a divine project. My beautiful friends, you and I, far from being an accident, we are part of God's grand project. For every single one of us, He had a plan. From the very beginning, He knew Jawad, Fatima, Zahra, Ali, Muhammad, Ma'asum, whatever your beautiful name is, there is a specific time for him or her. And I'm going to wait. I'm going to keep him from all these difficulties, and only when the time is right, I'm going to bring him or her. And it's very interesting. The next line, we read something very, very beautiful. It says, وَفِيهِ أَنْشَأْتَنِي وَمِنْ قَبْلِ ذَلِكَ رَأُفْتَ بِي بِجَمِيلِ صُنْعِكَ وَصَوَابِقِ نِعَمِكَ. And then finally, when the time was ready for me, because do you remember we said every single human being has been given by God the power to create. So every person has power to create, and God knows when would be the perfect time for each person to use this. In the grand scheme of things, every single one of us has a purpose to play. And Imam says, you kept me all this time, from one generation to another, from one loin to the womb of my ancestors, generation by generation, only till the time was right, you brought me into this world. But this line, وَمِنْ قَبْلِ ذَلِكَ رَأُفْتَ بِي, and even before coming to this world, you loved me. And I think this is very interesting. This is very beautiful, because this shows, because a lot of times when I tell people God loves all human beings, they're like, no, God only likes those who do good deeds or have good actions. I'm like my friend Imam Hussein says, before even coming to this earth, God loved us. Before coming to this earth, which action are you talking about? What action have we done? He says from thousands of years before we were born, before we even had a name to be mentioned, وَلَمْ أَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا, God had a plan for us. God loved us. So God's love for humanity is unconditional. It has zero to do with our actions. Nothing at all with our actions. Our actions is not to gain God's love. Is that so we can feel God's love. Very different. Now, this is very interesting because, as I said, God's love is unconditional. This is why you even see the worst person. Who is the worst person you can imagine in the world right now? Whoever you think, right? The worst person that you can imagine at the time of Prophet Musa could have been Fir'aun, right? The Pharaoh of the time. But does God stop loving Fir'aun? No. What does God say to Musa? Go to him, speak softly to Fir'aun. Why? لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرَ أَوْ يَخْشَى. So even with regards to Fir'aun, God has so much love for him. And Fir'aun, God knows how much crime he had done. But still, no one can come out of God's love. No one. And it's very interesting. God doesn't just say that I will forgive him. No, God has higher hopes even for Fir'aun, because it says to Musa, لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرَ أَوْ يَخْشَى, so that he has khashiyat. In Quran, the maqam, the state of khashiyah is given to who? Right? We have it that it is only the ulama who have khashiyat of Allah. So not only God says, I have hopes for Fir'aun to be forgiven, but he says, I have hopes for Fir'aun to become great arif and alim. So never think that God's love for you and me is conditional. Not at all. This is very important for us to know. Nothing you can do can remove God's love. Okay, why does God love us this much? Right? Why does God love Fir'aun? You'll see that, well, because he took care of us so much. He's done so much. He has invested in us. You know, he gave us this power of creation. We mean a lot to him. And Imam Hussein explains, وَحَفِظْتَنِي فِي الْمَهْدِ طِفْلًا سَبِيًّا وَرَزَقْتَنِي مِنَ الْغِذَاءِ لَبَنًا مَرِيًّا وَعَطَفْتَ عَلَيَّ قُلُوبَ الْحَوَاضِنِ وَكَفَّلْتَنِي الْأُمَّهَاتِ الرَّوَاحِمِ. says, from the time before I was born, you showed love to me. I came here, you took care of me. You made me in a way that I am cute, that people were nice to me. You put love in the heart of my mother so that she's nice to me. The people who were taking care of me, you made them tender towards me, right? All of this you did for me. And you kept me from the ups and downs throughout year after year. You took care of me till I started speaking. See, Imam Hussein is saying stage by stage, the love God showed us, right? And then inshallah tomorrow we'll continue with all of these things that God did for us. But I just want to say something here. You know, sometimes as kids, when we were kids, if someone asked you, how are you alive? Where's your energy coming from? How are you healthy? We would say, well, I'm eating good food, I'm sleeping. That's how I'm healthy. But then later on, you become a parent yourself and you see, oh my God, how much limited my view was. I thought what made me healthy was that I was eating food or I was sleeping. Then you become a parent yourself and you're like, wow, how much energy goes to just providing that food. Well, the child says, I'm sleeping. Well, the house in which you sleep, do you know how much effort the parents put in providing that house? You know, the first few months that I paid rent, it was like my back was breaking. But a child just says, yeah, the house is there. My parents bring food, I eat food, I'm healthy. Doesn't know the parents are providing so much, energy and effort into bringing that food, that house. And then now Imam Hussein is looking at it even from a larger angle. He says, yes, my mother showed love to me, but wow, there's even a larger level that God put that love in my mother so that my mother takes care of me. The people around me who were nursing me, God put that tenderness in them and they took care of me. Throughout all of this, it was at the largest scale of things, it was God that was showing love to me. And God showed this kind of love to every single human being long before any of us could even make any actions. Right? And this is very beautiful because a lot of us think it's good actions that bring God's love, which is what angels thought as well, right? When God wants to create insan, angels are like, God, if your love is for those who will glorify you, well, we are there. If you want glorification, here we are. If you want good actions, here we are. But God says, no, God, angels, I love you too, but I don't want to be glorified only. This human being, I love him unconditionally. It has nothing to do with actions. It's way deeper than that. The role this insan has is very important. And this is all from Imam Hussein, the important role of insan in the story of creation. And we learned earlier on, because God gave some of his own power to us, some of divine godly power. And inshallah, tomorrow we shall continue with the rest of story with more, inshallah, examples of God's love for us. So let's recap quickly today what happened. Imam Hussein said, oh God, long before I even came to this world, you showed love for me. وَلَمْ أَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا. And throughout these times, throughout generation after generation, you kept me within my ancestors because you had a plan for me. I was part of your divine project, right? You knew when is the time in which I can shine the most, and you kept me for that time. And this was all out of your love. And this shows that, as I said, every single one of us, we have a specific purpose, even the time of our birth, the period, the age in which, the country in which we're born. All of these are not accidental. They're chosen out of God's love so that we can have the most impact. We can show our fullest potential and use that God-given power of creation. It's very beautiful. And it says, you didn't leave me alone. It's not like you had this plan and just left me alone in this world. No, from the very beginning, you took care of me from the time I was only a drop of semen. Then this level, that level, till I was born, the milk I had, all of this, till I started talking. And inshallah, tomorrow we'll continue with the rest of the story and more of God's love for us. So remember, Every single one of us have been loved by God for thousands of years, long before we were born. We're very special. I hope you remember that, you realize that. And inshallah, till the next session that we will have tomorrow, take care of yourselves. And we'll end this session now.